think the conditions are created for those men to kill each other, like in other cities. So for social scientists, it's not that hard to figure out what to do to change, Not to get too personal, but I was in a talk the other day up here with a very famous scholar. She came out and gave a big lecture. I'm sitting there, she's talking about structural inequality, and this is getting back to Philadelphia, and crime. Wonderful presentation. And I'm listening, I'm like, man, that's hot right there. She's looking at jobs and subprime loans, and she's factoring all this into this regression analysis as to how crime happens. And I say, well, to what extent does the reality, if we're talking about structural inequality, getting back to Philadelphia, if we're really taking that seriously, to what extent does black opportunity mean anything here? That's the heart of your argument, right? So definitely we know what that means when we're talking to each other, scholars, black opportunity. That means essentially there are forces out there, and particularly like William Julius Wilson, who's a very famous sociologist at Harvard. He would argue this, and she's moving from his theory in his work. I said, well, he talks about it explicitly, black opportunity. And what does that mean? Well, essentially what it means is this, that for whatever reason, folk are creating a structural reality to produce inequality in these communities, explicitly so. And that's what's going on. So I'm like, well, great talk, but if we're talking about help for Philadelphia, help for these men, the idea of really changing this stuff in some real way, right? So I quote, I'm just running over a litany of names. And I remember entering, I said, well, Betty Lou Valentine, she also writes a book, it comes out in the 70s, and then it caught a lot of people's attention. It's called Hard Work and Hustle. She does a wonderful ethnography of some black communities. She doesn't name the communities for confidentiality reasons. I said, well, Betty Lou Valentine says, if you propose a plan that is not about massive or major social structural change, this is why I say, then whatever you're talking about is not helpful to black communities. Anything less than that, you're talking about something else. If your idea is not about that or better, you are talking about something else in the community. So I said, no disrespect, but the charity and the social program that you're suggesting that my people need to do, as a way to fix the problem, I think there's ample evidence to suggest that it's not going to work. So I don't think what I said was anything necessarily that great, right? It's really commonsensical at the end of the day. But it's so commonsensical that you have to ask the question if you're taking this stuff seriously. At what point did they think about this stuff and ignore it? That's where it gets reduced to. If you are a governor of a state or a mayor of a city, if you are a major scholar, you've thought about this stuff. At some point in your career, the fact that you're not talking about it almost is irrelevant. But I do know, just putting two and two together, at some point you've thought about it. So why haven't you done anything about it? And it gets back to, on some level, I ain't gonna say everybody, definitely, but on some level, some of the stuff that we're seeing in these communities are intentional, which is why it hurts to see people take up other arguments to explain the issues of men. Okay, because